Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Daily Dizzle. I got my addictions and my problems. Bitch, you have an easy life. Ah! Welcome, everyone, to the Daily Dizzle for Friday, February 18th, 2011. It is Tommy Dizzlemits here, as always. If it's Friday and another weekend's coming up, that means if there's a few new movie choices to check out at the cinemas. Of course, as is the case for the better part of the last year and going through the next year, instead of trying to trailblaze new paths and success in Hollywood, the big studios are just trying to rely on what they know and trying to recreate past history. You had it going on last weekend with Adam Sandler invading the Valentine's weekend again, as he usually does, in addition to a few concert movies coming out, which tend to be a big staple of the early February, late January time period. But if you want a case of Hollywood really trying to recreate things, this weekend is almost a perfect example of its new releases. Not saying that the new releases aren't good, but you can definitely tell that they're following some paint by numbers that were set down for them. First, you've got I Am Number 4, which is the big sci-fi movie about the kids who are aliens. But that tends to be a really good crowd to try and get to go to the movies. The teenage crowd who's going to go see something like that. It's definitely a callback to Jumper a couple of years ago, coming out around the same weekend on the President's Day. Definitely has the same feel, just a bigger budget almost. But at the very least, they can expect to make a little bit of money. It might not start a new franchise, which they're hoping to do, as is the case with every teen-oriented big-budget blockbuster that comes out nowadays. But look down the list. Big Mama 3 is coming out. The only reason I might debate seeing that movie is because I don't think Martin Lawrence is unbearable as everyone else does, and the fact that Brandon T. Jackson, who was Al Pacino in Tropic Thunder, the fact that he's playing Martin Lawrence's son, I really do think that's worth it right there. Not many people are going to agree with me on that one. And even though the second Big Mama's House at least it stepped up the money intake, it didn't match the opening attendance or nearly match the long-run attendance of the first one. So this is just their way of making sure that the Big Mama's franchise is dead, or seeing if they can get a little bit more money out of it before it goes direct-to-video. Meanwhile, though, if you really want the true example of Hollywood just going with what it knows, but why it should pay off the best, you have Liam Neeson coming out in Unknown. Unknown essentially looks like Taken 2. There's going to be a Taken 2, and they might as well make Taken 2 Taken 3, because this should be Taken 2, following the exact same advertising, the exact same money shots, and the exact same formula of Liam Neeson kicking a whole lot of ass. So I'd say if I'm going to have to pick any of those to see this weekend, I think Unknown would be the first choice. So hopefully that reflects in the box office. Liam Neeson hasn't really been tested as a big leading star, though the one movie that did test the waters, Taken, that one ended up having a pretty big, impressive #1 streak, so they're really hoping to have the same thing happen with this one. So, meanwhile, though, you've got a lot of other movies that are going to be fighting the new releases. You've got Just Go With It, which is going to be showing whether it's going to follow the Adam Sandler standards of crossing $100 million, or if maybe everyone's kind of sick of him at this point. You got to keep an eye on Bieber. Hopefully the movie drops off quick, and we don't have to talk about him any further on here. I'm really hoping that Romeo and Juliet steps up, even though that was the other 3D movie that came out against the concert film last weekend. It ended up taking #2 on Saturday and Sunday because family audiences tend to come out in full swing more towards the end of the weekend. And it's actually gotten some pretty good reviews. It's the most successful minor animated movie, not a Disney or a DreamWorks, to come out in the last couple years. Meanwhile, the other new release from last week, The Eagle, don't expect it to hold on to its top 10 spot much longer, if beyond this weekend, just for the fact that those movies tend to drop off at the box office. It's still performing rather well for the genre that it's in, but just for the fact that you had the 3 movies last week that are opening ahead of it, 3 more coming out this week, and we haven't even touched the holdovers yet. But you've got a lot of the Oscar fare, which have been holding down their spots, like The King's Speech, Black Swan, The Fighter, and True Grit. They've all been managing to post very high on the box office ever since they've been out through the holidays. And on top of that, you also have the #1 movies from the last month, like The Green Hornet, which is still holding in there. It's recently doubled Kick-Ass as a total gross to become the most successful comedic superhero movie, showing just how hard those type of movies are to get right, but Green Hornet is obviously the most successful of them so far. On top of that, you have No Strings Attached, which was also #1 during the month, not only performing very, very strongly for an Ashton Kutcher romantic comedy that's released in January, but also for just an R-rated romantic comedy ever. Sometimes it helps when the older female audience doesn't get a movie that they want to see until something like that comes along. Then they're encouraged to come out, and it's staying in the top 10 a month after its release. So that's the rundown we've got for this weekend. You can expect most of those movies to show up in the top 10, as we said, and throughout the weekend we will have an update when the Friday estimates come in and when the weekend estimates come in as well. So we do hope that you will join us for our weekend update. We'll probably end up having 2 of them, just for the fact that we're sorry for missing so much time. So yeah, that's all the time we've got for today, but we'll have the latest news on the box office and some other awesome movie news next time we join you. So make sure to make time for us. We're here Monday through Friday. We've got the weekend updates posted by Sunday, but this weekend, make sure you check Sunday morning and Sunday night. You'll probably find 2 things. So as always, for the Daily Dizzle, I am Tommy Dizzlemits, and we look forward to seeing you this weekend.